No? There we go. So when you look up on As You Learn, um, this is under this week's. So there's no new material this week. Use it to get caught up on my labs, which will also help you study for the exam. The problems are, for the most part, are very similar to my labs. I broke the exam into two parts. There's a take-home part and a proctored part. And yes, the in-class part is on Friday. I did put this up online, didn't I? I think I did, but I don't think I put the date. I have classes on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then Tuesday, Thursday class. So I didn't want to put the date on here, but I will put it online on the link. I think I forgot to put dates. But yours will be this Friday, the 17th? Yeah. But we'll start with the take-home part. The take-home part will be up on As You Learn on Wednesday. I thought of putting it up today, but I didn't have it finished, so it'll be up on Wednesday. But I don't want you having too many days anyways, and I wanted you to have till Sunday if you are busy a lot during the week or want to study for the test and then do that part on the weekend. That's fine. But I also wanted it up there so if you wanted to ask me questions. So it'll be up Wednesday morning. And it's due Sunday night. It has to be turned in Sunday night. If something comes up and you have to turn it in early in the morning, that's fine. But for the most part, try and get it in by Sunday night. What I decided was to, like the scatter plots, graphing an equation, like two equations to see where they intersect, those types of problems where you need technology other than you need the internet to use that Desmos or Excel. A lot of times it slows the computer down. I've had students in other classes in the fall and spring last year where they didn't have as much time on the test because their computer's moving slow. And so going back and forth was too much. So I decided whatever ones use technology, like this would use Desmos or Excel. Graphing would use Desmos or Excel. Those two I put on the take home, and that's why I started a take home. That way, none of these problems will need Desmos or Excel in class. So in class, you will bring up your test and you don't have to bring anything else up. Then it will have a lockdown browser, which will not let you go anywhere else. So their scatter plot, R squared, and trend line will be on the take-home part. A system of equations where you solve by graphing. I just want to make sure you know how to use Desmos properly for later problems, so that will be on the take-home. These two I put on because we talked a little bit, but I noticed my math lab didn't have these problems. I don't know how they got taken out, but they used to be in it. So we will go over these today to make sure you understand them. But I put them on the take home because then you could do more research on them if you had to. There'll probably be a story problem with rate, profit, and cost using either substitution or elimination. Find the break-even quantity. So there'll be one of those, at least one. And then the difference quotient. That was the one we did, f of x plus h minus f of x over h. I'm not too worried about the problem. I want to make sure you understand the process of going through it because we're going to use it a lot in later chapters. And so that's why I put that on the take home. So it's just things I want to make sure you know, but it either used technology or we hadn't gone over enough. Is there any questions on that? The second part of the test is proctored. It's this Friday. Just like you got on today, you'll get on, except you will show me your face. So if you don't have a camera on your computer, you can use your phone. Since you won't need it during the test, it can be logged in and I can watch you. I need to be able to see you, your computer, your workspace. Well, if you use your camera, I can't see as much, but I do need to see, though, you. Sometimes what happens is I get this. And I don't see anything but the tip of a head. So make sure I am seeing you. Also, because I wanted you to learn the formulas, but if you're using them, you're going to eventually learn them anyways. So you can have a formula sheet. That way you're not putting sticky notes all over your computer so that I can't see them. You can have a formula sheet. There cannot be anybody else in the room. If you're doing it in like the library or something and someone walks through, that's not a problem, but you can't be talking to them. Any questions? Oh, there's another question. Can we go over? Yes. We will definitely go over difference quotient because I think I've only done maybe 2 of them. And I want to go over domain and range and parallel and perpendicular because I know we didn't do much on them if we did. Any questions on the setup? So on the test, what you'll do is you'll go under as you learn and open it. I will put it, sometimes what happens is when you open up my Word document, sometimes like if I have a formula like this there, it doesn't always show. So I will put the test and then I will put pictures of the test. That way, if you're not getting all the formulas you should get or equations, just open up the pictures and you'll be able to see them. So I always put both. You do not have to print it. You can just get a piece of paper, put your name. Well, your link will say your name. You don't even need a name. But put number 1, work it out. Number 2, try and keep them organized. But if you're skipping one and you don't want to leave space, that's fine. Just put number 2 on back or however. When you're done, before you log off, you need to submit them before you log off. You can take pictures of them. There's a program called Scannable that you can put, it's an app you put on your phone, and then when you take your picture, it makes it a PDF. So you could use that. But I'm fine with regular pictures also. Any questions on that? Which formulas do we need to know? Okay. The biggest formulas would be the slope, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Y equals mx plus b. I don't usually use standard form, so I wouldn't worry about that one. Profit is revenue minus cost. We'll use this a lot more later, but on a test, to this test, I would probably put the equation there because we haven't used it a lot yet. Slope. I think that's all the formulas. You want to remember that equilibrium is when you set the supply equal to the demand. That break even P of X equals 0 or revenue equals cost when you're finding break even. I think that's all the formulas. Any other questions? Okay. Okay, so if we had this and we wanted to find the difference quotient, I guess, well, I think I would write the formula though. But when you're finding the difference quotient, you might want to write the formula down. It's f of x plus h minus f of x all over h. And for a polynomial, I would do it in parts. So I would only find f of x plus h first. Now when you're finding f of x plus h, all you're doing is going to the equation, and wherever there's an x, you replace it with x plus h. So we would have x plus h squared plus 2 times x plus h minus 3. Any questions? Now we need to simplify this. Biggest mistake that happens is you get x squared plus h squared. But this is x plus h times x plus h. We have to FOIL that. So multiplying the first two, you get x squared. Multiplying the outside and the inside, you get plus 2hx. And the last two, h squared. Any questions on that? I combine the outside and inside because you get xh and xh for 2xh. And then distribute the 2. Any questions on that part? Notice, double check, there's no like term, so nothing can be combined. So that is f of x plus h. Now we want to take that answer and subtract f of x. So this means to subtract the original problem, this. So we're subtracting the original. What you need to be careful, this negative has to distribute. And everything inside these parentheses should cancel. It's not just going to combine, it should cancel, or you did something wrong. That's the way the formula is set up. Everything that is left after you cancel should have an h in it. So I would distribute my negative. You don't have to rewrite it. You can make this a plus and then change your signs. So this negative became a positive and I changed my signs inside parentheses. We have a negative x squared here and then positive x squared there. We have a minus 2x here and a plus 2x here. We have a plus 3 and a minus 3. So everything in here canceled with something out here. Notice the terms that are left have h's in them. So we have 3 terms left and they all have an h. So we want to divide by h. You could cancel one h from every term, or you can factor an h out of the top and then cancel, whichever way you're more comfortable with. But we could pull an h out of the top, so then we're left with 2x plus h plus 2. Then the h's cancel and leave 2x plus h plus 2. So the polynomial is easier to do by steps. When we learn the square root and the fraction, we'll put it all together first because then it cancels nice. Any questions on that one? So this one I put on the take-home part. That way you could take your time. Be careful you don't get careless mistakes. I know a lot of times when you make something take home, people work together. If you are going to work together, do them separately and then come together and check answers and then find out who made a mistake and where it's at, because then you're definitely going to learn from it. Don't just copy someone's work because you're not going to learn. And then when you have to do it in class, you're not going to be able to do it. We're going to be doing a lot of these. So letting you do it at home right now is fine because next time you'll be tested on it in class. Any questions on that? But I do not mind at all if you work on it and then ask your roommate if they got the same answer. That's fine. Any questions? Okay. The other two I want to make sure was it 2? Yeah. Domain. When you're looking for the domain, well, for right now, there's 4 cases. One is when you just have, just like the last problem, a polynomial. No fractions, no square roots. And when we get to logs, logs also have a special domain. But for now, no fractions and no square roots. X is a member of all real numbers. You don't have to use this terminology since we haven't done a lot of it yet. You can just put X is all real numbers. You could just put all real numbers. And if you learned it as negative infinity to positive infinity, that will work too. I prefer this or this, but there's times when we'll use this. Now, if we do have a fraction, I think I wrote some of these down, but when you have a fraction, you know you can't have 0 in the denominator. And so we can use all the numbers except for what would give us 0 in the denominator. So to find that, you set the denominator equal to 0 and then make it not equal, or you could start with not equal. But we know the bottom cannot equal 0. Solve for x. Add the 5 and divide by 2. So x can be any value except for 5/2. Any questions on that? So on a fraction, set it not equal to 0 and just solve. When we have a square root, we can't take the square root of a negative value. So x can be 0 or anything positive. That means that what's under the radical must be greater than or equal to 0. So if you have a square root, you take what's inside, make it greater than or equal to 0, and then solve for x. So x is greater than 9 would be your domain. Any value greater than or equal to 9. Any questions on that? Okay. The last case is, what if we take that square root and we put it in the denominator? How is it going to change it? It still has to be positive, but because it's in the denominator, it can't equal 0. So instead of greater than or equal to 0, if I put it in the bottom, you get rid of the equal to part. It can only be greater than 0. So that's the only difference. But those are the 3 cases so far that we have. So this would be x greater than 9. All right, that's the sun is shining into my window too much. Any questions? Is everyone okay with domain? And if you need to pull this out for the test, since it's on the take-home part, it's fine. You can use your notes for the take-home. Any questions? Pharaoh? Oh, here's one. For the given line, y equals 2x plus 5, find the equation of the line that goes through the point -4, 6 and is parallel and then perpendicular. If two lines are parallel, their slopes are equal. So we know we're going through the point, -4, 6. We look at this equation, or line. What is the slope? Anyone? The slope of this one, think of your y equals mx plus b, is, yep, someone finally put it, is 2. If the two lines are parallel, the slope of this line, I use this so I remember it was the parallel line. This is the original, this is the parallel. It's the same. So you would use y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1 and use the parallel slope and the point. On a test, I would ask for it to be in y equals mx plus b form, so you would have to solve it for y. Distribute the 2. And then add the 6 to the other side. So this line is parallel to this line. And remember on Desmos we said when the slope is the same, the lines will be parallel. And it goes through that point. Any questions on that? When two lines are perpendicular, the slope is the opposite reciprocal. So in this case, our original slope was 2. The perpendicular slope will be the opposite sign, so in this case a negative, and then you take the reciprocal. We make this a fraction. When we flip it, we get 1/2. So these two slopes would give perpendicular lines. So it's the opposite sign and the reciprocal. And the problem said to use the same point, -4, 6. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus a -4 is a +4. Distribute your -1/2. Minus 2, and then add the 6. That will be on a take-home problem. Any questions on it? I don't know which ones you have questions on. This was from, here, let me give you, for some reason, I don't have section 1.3, but from on my math lab, I would definitely look at 7 and 11. And then on 1.4, 4, 9, 10, and 12. 2.1, 3, and 6. 2.2, 1, and 5. 2.3, 3, 4, 8, and 9. 1.1 and 1.2, I don't have them with me, but everything in there was just the basics so that you could do these. So I really wouldn't plug this value in on one of those problems. I would do it over here. And so these would have everything you would need. Looking at, I'll give you a second. Let's see, write that down. Looking at these, is there anything that you want to see today? Or I can just start working these problems. So we did domain, we did parallel perpendicular, we did the difference quotient. You want to make sure you know that slope and rate of change is the same thing. And it's also marginal profit, marginal cost. When you have a straight line. Those all mean the same thing, slope. Okay, then I will just start going through problems. Okay, 1.3, number 7. A company charting its profits notices that the relationship between the number of units sold, X, and the profit, P, is a linear. If 300 units sold results in 38.54 profit, and 375 units yields 4,000 or 7,454, find the marginal profit. Now they can write this a few different ways. Marginal profit is the profit from each additional unit, and it is also slope. We have 2 points, 300, 38.54. And then we have 375, 74.54. I know it went in this order because X was units, number of units sold, and profit is Y. So we can use, and this was from my lab's homework, number 7. So our slope, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. If you're entering it all in at once, you need parentheses around the top and the bottom. So our marginal profit is 9.6. So each additional unit sold increases because it's a positive, increases profit by $9.60. So each additional unit increases the profit by $9.60. And you definitely need to be able to explain what the slope means. Any questions on that part? To find part B, the equation, the profit function, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x. This is m. Marginal profit is the same as slope. Use either one of the 2 points. I use this one because 300 has zeros, easier to work with. Distribute your 9.6. Then we add this to the other side. And get 974. Any questions on that?
How did she get $9.60? I got $48.
Let me make sure I typed everything in right. 74.54 minus 38. So when you subtract these, you get 3,600 divided by 75. I don't know what I did. Seven, 4, 5, 4, 38.54. I typed it right. I'm not sure what I did. Okay, sorry about that. This should be 48. Thank you. I must not have divided by 75. I subtracted this right because I went back and looked on my calculator. Ah. Sorry. This is why you always use pencil and math. Okay, is everyone else getting 48? I don't know what I did. I don't know. I bet you I divided by 375. Okay. Sorry about that. So the 48, this will change to 48, and this will change to 48. I knew this should have been a negative. Usually in your profit function, this is the negative because you start out in the hole. Okay, you're getting 48x minus 10,546. And you can change your y to a p of x. That way we know it stands for profit. Explain the slope up here. The y-intercept, that's where you start when x is 0. So when no units are sold, we're in the hole $10,546. So we owe $10,546 before anything is sold. Any questions? Okay. This is a good one to practice the break even. When you're finding where you break even, because when nothing's sold, we owe $10,546. Break even is when you don't owe any money anymore. You're not making anything, but you don't owe anything. So to find that, you set, since we have profit, you set it equal to 0. If we had revenue and cost, we would just set revenue equal to cost. So we just set the function equal to 0. Add the 10,000 to the other side. And divide by the 48. You should get 219.7083. Now, depending on what the units are for this product, if it has to be an integer, then you would have to round up no matter what the decimal is. Some things like coffee and sand, salt, they can be in parts. But this one would be 220 units. So it takes 220 units before you break even. But you never want to just drop the decimal. You always round up. Any questions on that? Yeah, I think that's all I would ask in that one. Oh, there it is. You want to make sure you understand a horizontal line, what the slope is, what the equation is. And the best way to remember that is $5. Means a horizontal line, the first one, has a slope of 0, and it only has a y. The box is a vertical line, slope is undefined, and if you forget the word undefined, you can put no slope. And then the x is because it's x equals a number. There's no y value. So a horizontal line, slope is 0. Vertical line, slope is undefined. And we did domain. But is there any questions on that? So if you see a graph, You could write the equation of the line, give the slope. And this is a vertical line. So that tells me it's this one. The slope is the middle part, undefined. And then the equation, x equals whatever number it hits when it crosses the x-axis. So the equation would be x equals 3. Any questions on those? We had y equals -2. There's only a y value. So we look here, and this is one with the y. So we know the slope is 0, and it's a horizontal line. It's a horizontal line, and it crosses the y-axis at -2. So given any one of the three things, using this, you should be able to go from the graph, the equation, and the slope. Any questions on that? Hmm. On 1.4, you want to look at these ones. I mean, all of them are good and a lot of them repeat, but I liked these four the best for a review. An electric board, do we have time? Yeah, we have time for this one. An electric board determines its monthly bills for residential customers by charging a baseline of $13 plus an energy charge of 10.31 cents for each kilowatt hour. A rate, that's your slope. And so it's cents per kilowatt hour. That is slope. The other number it gave us, its monthly bills for residential customers by charging a base price of $13. So no matter how much you use, you're still paying that $13. If you use no electricity, you're still paying that $13. That's the fixed cost. Starting amount or base price. That's B. Any questions on that?
Were all these problems we did today, were they going to be on the take home one or on the proctored one?
Mm, this would definitely be on the proctored one. The domain and ones are not, they're on the take home. The parallel and perpendicular lines are. Break even is on the in-class part. It's kind of each. I would definitely go by this. Because like we did slope, rate of change, we did that today. We worked on profit today. I would say it's both. But the biggest thing, domain will only be on the take home. Same thing with parallel and perpendicular difference questions. Looks like a lot of what we did today is on the take home part. And what's left is on the other one, except the scatter plot. Any questions? But yeah, I would go by this and make sure, because some of it overlaps, like the revenue and cost ones overlap. I guess that's the only part, but slope. Look at the problems I gave you, and that way we'll go, whichever ones you have questions on first, we'll do. If we have time, we'll do them all. Any other questions? What is the exam is a 50-minute exam. That's why I'm trying to keep, normally I put 13 problems on a test, but I will probably only put 10 because you've never seen my tests before, unless you know someone who's had me before. But in most cases, you haven't seen them before. So I want to give a little extra time